Good morning. It's Mark Johnson from Loyalty360. Hope everyone's healthy, happy, and safe this Friday afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of Loyalty Live. This is a series where we talk to the leaders in customer channel and brand loyalty about the technology, best practices, and insight they are seeing regarding customer loyalty. Obviously very important during an era of COVID-19, but looking forward to hearing more today. Brands have to have a unique ability to drive customer experience, drive engagement at the end of the day to get to a long-term loyal customer, and that's what the series focuses on. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with David VanWiggeren, who is the Chief Executive Officer at DropTank. How are you, David?
I'm good. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. First off, for those who may not know about you and about DropTank, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at the company, and also kind of what DropTank does?
Sure. So Dave VanWiggeren, I'm the CEO of DropTank. Let's see a little about me. I have 5 kids, so I pretty much do that in DropTank. That's so I think we have some of that in common, Mark.
Yes. I only have 4.
You have 4 kids? Okay.
Yeah,
well, try to keep up. Try to keep up.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I have a finance and marketing background. I used to be responsible for payment and loyalty at BP in the US. And that's kind of how I got into this. Started DropTank in 2012 and began offering loyalty strategy and some loyalty technologies, and then eventually turned into full-blown loyalty programs for fuel brands and kind of the fuel and convenience store industry. So yeah, so that's DropTank. We really believe in the concept of relationships. So not only internally, feel strongly about the relationships that we have with our employees and our partners and things like that. But and I'm just even outside of the company, it's just a personal belief. That's a little bit of why we're here is relationships. And I love the opportunity, and the team loves the opportunity to work on relationships that brands have with their customers. So we kind of start there, making sure that what we do is creating meaningful relationships. Absolutely.
Can you share with us a fun fact about yourself? It's always great to learn something new with those we're talking to on Loyalty Live, aside from the 5 kids.
Sure. Let's see. Let's see. Last year, I was on an elliptical machine next to Barack Obama. That was kind of weird. I was in a hotel in San Francisco, just kind of doing my thing, and this, as normal as happens, somebody pulls up beside you, hops on, starts working out. I just kind of did a glance over, like a little double take type of thing. I was like, man, that guy looks a lot like Barack Obama. But I thought, no, it can't be. There'd be a bunch of security around here or something. I looked over my right shoulder and they're like 2 of the biggest guys I've ever seen, in sport coats. So I was like, okay, it's Brock. So anyway, I don't know if that's fun, but that was just kind of interesting, popped in my head.
That's a good fun fact for sure. It's good to hear. Hopefully you didn't make the security Secret Service
no,
because
and you know what, I'm proud of myself. I didn't bother him. I didn't say anything or whatever. And the guy is pretty fit. He is for his age ridiculously fit.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Can you give us a brief overview of DropTank? I know we kind of talked about a little bit what you guys do, how you do it, how you guys were formed, the genesis of the company. I would like to know, the industries you work with, what you do for them. You talked about the passion and engagement you have with them, which is great to hear, but I'd love to know a little bit more about kind of DropTank.
I gotcha. Yeah. So DropTank is a loyalty marketing company. We specialize in kind of end-to-end loyalty solutions. So we are not focused on one particular piece of tech, whether it's marketing automation or the rules engine or something like that. There are different technology players out there. We do use Oracle Cloud to host all of our stuff. We're completely cloud-based, and kind of an end-to-end tech stack, including the engine, marketing automation, data warehouse, analytics. And then we offer a number of services to pull that all together. And it really gets at what, it's not for everyone, but for companies that are either looking at reinventing their solution, where they would like to say, where they're recognizing, hey, we can't be expertise at our core business or products and services, and at the same time know how to engage with customers in a wicked smart way and track it and analyze it. Drop Tank, is a great service for folks like that, or folks that there's a new product, new service, or it's a launch for the first time, a solution. We can be a very nice turnkey way to get that going. Our expertise is in the fuel and convenience store industry, but the tech stack that we have really is applicable across industries. We happen to have a very deep knowledge of point of sale integrations, particularly in the petro space. So we leverage that, and that was kind of the genesis of the company. But when it comes to campaigns, promotions, some of the creative ideas, some of the DNA around loyalty, what makes sense, what are the driving factors that really propel brands forward, we feel that we have that in spades. So yeah, we enjoy what we do, and we're looking to expand outside of fuel as well.
Great. One of the things we like to ask brands, suppliers, agency partners is understanding how they define certain facets of kind of the customer loyalty. So the first question, obviously, how do you define customer loyalty? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your organization? And what does that mean to the brands that you work with?
Sure. Well, I go back to relationships. At the end of the day, what we're trying to achieve here is a meaningful, lasting relationship between a customer and the brand. And you can think of that cynically, like, oh, well, it's all about the money and things like that. But I would argue that those relationships have value beyond just the transactional nature. So you can think of, this is a great time. This is a great example. Brands that have powerful, this time of COVID-19, brands that have powerful relationships with their customers, trusted relationships. They have interactions where over time, these customers have come to know their brand. And even sometimes you get a sense of this. You start to get a sense of the type of people who are running the show at that brand and the type of values they have. When you can start to expose that type of stuff to customers, we talk about loyalty programs. That's kind of like the touch point a lot of times. But when you can expose those values and provide opportunities to those customers to see who you really are as a brand, it is healthy, not just transactionally, but also it's healthy to the end customer. So they have trusted, providers, and it is just healthy long term for that brand and customer relationship. So that's the way that we think about loyalty, is that relationship, and it really feeds into everything we do. When I see a new campaign that's being proposed for a client, we put ourselves in the shoes of the client. We put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. Is it compelling? Is it building the long-term relationship? Is there an element of trust here? Is there an element of deepening that relationship? Things that are not compelling and don't really speak to the values of the brand, we tend to throw out.
Okay, interesting. So to kind of follow up on that, what's the biggest challenge or opportunity you see in customer loyalty these days? Obviously, COVID's been a big disruptor. There's lots of data privacy. What's the biggest challenge or opportunity you see pertaining to customer loyalty?
Yeah, there are a number of challenges, but the biggest one we see, and it might be just from our vantage point, but as we get to know more and more about customers, data insights and things like that, as customers begin to interact with us in more and more ways, social media, and kind of the explosion of different marketing channels that are available, the complexity of interfacing and building those relationships, maintaining those relationships with customers, the complexity of that is it's a high bar. It's a high bar for folks to manage. So you do end up seeing, some of the better loyalty programs I've seen are relatively simple to execute, but yet they still expose the values. They still expose, meaningful, compelling offers and messages. But they've kind of limited themselves to a certain extent because they're not hitting all the channels. Their marketing is maybe not quite as targeted as it could be in things. but they've had to simplify. So I think the real opportunity is to take the complexity and find a way to remove it. And that's one of the things that we try to do is drop tank for our clients, is to say, look, you're really good at this, stay good at that. Don't lose sight of your products, your services. But we can help really remove a lot of the complexity around the marketing channels, around the creative, around the marketing automation in particular. So anyway, that's what we think is the biggest challenge, is the complexity.
Great. And can you name a brand or maybe a few that do an exceptional job of creating customer loyalty, and why?
Yeah, and some of these are probably cliche. I know, Mark, you live and breathe this stuff, so I apologize if maybe some of these are everybody's answers. But I like Amazon. I like Apple. Even though I use Android products, I mean, the stuff they were doing early on in terms of both of them, the examples I used there, both of them, the concept of loyalty has permeated all throughout the business and is not just an offshoot of the marketing department. That typically is where things start, but
right.
successful programs bring that into the C-suite. So, realizing that your product, if you're Apple, realizing that it's not just a product, it's an experience. If you remember being amazed by the packaging, in the early days of some of the products, iPods and iPads and stuff, was just the attention to detail, the experience you had when you were opening it, the experience you had when you were turning it on. Same with Amazon, just being amazed by the efficiency and clarity, super simple stuff. But in order to actually, the fast and free shipping, being a part of that, what it takes to actually execute that is not just a marketing team. It is deep into the operations of the entire thing. And of course, the analytics are unsurpassed from an Amazon perspective. So those are a couple of the reason I like those, even though we offer an end-to-end kind of customer engagement solution, we're always preaching and trying to help our clients and those touch points, particularly in marketing, help to elevate them and give them the messages to preach how this needs to be more than just a marketing initiative. It needs to be really a philosophy and a way of operating. So I like those examples.
Absolutely. And can you talked about a couple brands you think you do a good job. Are those the brands that you find yourself loyal to? You talked about Apple, talked about Amazon. Are there airlines, credit cards, retailers, grocers that you find yourself loyal to, and maybe why?
Yeah, so I mentioned I'm kind of an Android guy, unfortunately. I mean, we have Apple products in the house. My wife is diehard Apple, so I appreciate that. Amazon, pretty big Amazon family, 5 kids. A lot of things showing up in one day at my house, in brown boxes. I guess, let's see, for me, the brands that I'm particularly, I really like what they're doing in terms of loyalty and the loyalty they've generated. One of these, okay, so the one I'll use is Stitch Fix. I mean, if there was ever a company that was like, hey, how can we make Dave's life better? I hate shopping. I'm not good at it. I'm even partly colorblind. So my wife laughs at me when I put stuff together. So Stitch Fix, the attention to detail and the personalization. I don't know how I keep thinking to myself, there must be some automation in here for how they communicate with me and understand me and find stuff that work and fit for me. But it does seem pretty darn personalized. I'm not exactly sure how they do it. But, so that the personalization of Stitch Fix has been amazing to me.
What is Stitch Fix?
Stitch Fix. Yeah, it's basically it's a service that you fill out some things about yourself.
Yeah.
And the types of clothes that you're interested in. And you can set it up where they will send you on a regular basis 5 items. So it could be a blazer, it could be a pair of jeans, it could be a belt, it could be a shirt, it could be for guys anyway, it's dresses and blouses and earrings and stuff like that for girls. And then they send it to you and you can send it back if you don't like it. But if you accept items in there, then you end up being billed for them. Okay. And each time you make choices about what you send back and you say why, they kind of refine their understanding of what type of stuff you might like. And sometimes stretching you in the next shipment. Hey, maybe we should try this. Maybe Dave likes blazers. Maybe needs some funky socks. Or something like that. Oh, okay, it didn't work. We'll drop that. So they learn about you.
That's good. The model gets that's interesting. It gets tighter every time, so it's good.
Yep.
So
the other one I like, I'll throw out there for different reasons, is Ducati motorcycle company. Okay, they have a little bit of a loyalty program, but what they really have is an amazing focus on the feeling of the bike and the sound and the look and the image. That they've cultivated that for decades, and they have an incredibly loyal following. I happen to be a Ducati owner, so that's one of mine. I just love I like going to the dealership in Chicago. I like that somehow they managed to just keep this image and this feel. That is, it's kind of a niche market, but it's very cool to me how they maintain it.
Absolutely. I had to get rid of my bikes a long time with 4 kids. I did it myself. My wife didn't force me. So got convertibles instead, so that's easier.
Yeah, my wife's not happy either.
Yeah. So COVID-19, what have you seen from COVID-19 and the impacts on your clients or brands in general? And then maybe a couple brands you think that are doing a good job of pivoting or reinventing themselves during this time period.
Yeah, so in the fuel and C-store industry, we've definitely seen, it was amazing. I think I shared this before when we spoke, Mark. In about 2 weeks, the entire industry lost about 40% of its fuel volume, 40 to 50% of fuel volume. If you would have asked me before COVID, what would it have taken for people to literally in 2 weeks drive like half as much across the United States and probably in the world? You can only think of things like nuclear war, or I don't know, crazy stuff that could have done that. It is amazing, the supply chain though. So a lot of that has come back. It's not all the way back yet on the fuel side. The good news is for the C-store industry, they saw a lot of convenience store sales go up. So a lot of the kind of daily staples, people started going to grocery stores a lot more. They started going to convenience stores a fair amount more. So thankfully, the industry has been relatively spared despite the drop in fuel. What I've seen happen, and it's been surprising, I would have thought we would have seen a lot more pullback, certainly pullback in the markets. I'm surprised to see, people discounting risk. That seems to be out there to me in the financial markets. But likewise, I do see a similarity in the clients we talk to. They are very much thinking ahead, forward thinking, assuming this is a blip moving forward. But I have seen, again, this is, you're doing this for anecdotal. I know you do this with more than just one voice here. So the voice here, Dave VanWiggeren, is seeing people thinking about their customer relationships, prioritization over the customer, with the customer. I honestly think it has elevated through COVID-19. There are things like, streamlining efforts and cost saving efforts and divestments of businesses and realignments. And a lot of those things are still kind of happening, but I think a lot of people have said, holy cow, we need to think about the core. These customers, we can't take them for granted in the same way. They never would say they take it for granted, but when you prioritize other initiatives in front of it, it can happen where customers are taken for granted.
Absolutely.
And in this environment, I think that I've seen a lot of clients revisit how are we being perceived by our customers and how do we do better? A bit of a sense of anxiety and fear over COVID-19.
Absolutely. So when you look at some of the impacts that you've seen, obviously I think focus, empathy, kind of communication cadence, kind of balanced the two is something we continue to see. Marketing strategies, what are you seeing in that regard? What are they asking you for this year they may not have been asking you for last year?
Our clients are, I'd say occasionally we're seeing, it definitely is impacting the type of offers and campaigns that are out there. Making sure that clients do not appear tone deaf, but also trying to give customers a sense of stability in those customers. So I'll give you an example. In the fuel and C-store industry, frequency is very important. Let's get 2 out if somebody's visiting us 2 out of 5 times a month, let's get them to, how do we entice them to be 3 out of 5, that type of next level customer. But we recognize in this environment, people are traveling less. There's not as much activity. There's more quarantining, all that good stuff. So offers related to frequency are still out there, but we're seeing clients scale back. Okay, if you needed to hit 5 visits in a month to hit this tier, good news, it only takes 4. We're not trying to get you to, really step outside of the COVID world or get back to that. We're recognizing it. So we see a kind of a dial down of achievements. We also see, at least in our industry, more of a marketing towards everyday items. So it used to be really heavy into the next flavor of Jack Links or something. How do we get people to try that next thing? Well, now it's like, hey, we sell Jack Links. Come to us. Perhaps maybe when you're thinking you might go to a grocery store, or even if you're thinking you might have been going to a restaurant, be thinking, think of convenience. So the tone has changed a little bit, and don't be tone deaf. Make sure your achievements are achievable, and we're turning the dial in terms of the everyday item type of marketing, which seems to be matching up with people's willingness to spend.
Absolutely. Is there a piece of advice that you could give to brands, to marketers that are looking to improve their customer loyalty, customer experience strategies, like 1 or 2 things they should be focusing on, something simple that they can make actionable and kind of put it into play?
All right, this is stupid simple stuff, and we all see it, but use the lens of, is it compelling? That's stupid simple, but I'm sure we all get things from customers. It's not just, are we target marketing? Has this person, bought an energy drink in the past? Should they get an energy drink offer? Is the offer, is the visual, is the message, is the subject, headline, all these things, is this compelling? If it's not compelling, please don't send it. That's stupid simple. I'm sure everybody says that, but I think there are a lot of programs out there that get into these campaigns and, okay, it's, Q4 is right around the corner. We need to have, 10 messages this quarter. What are they going to be? We got to fill the hole. Let's just put something out there, and okay, we did our job. Yep, I hit my target of having 10 messages per member or whatever it is. And I'm worried that people have like performance contracts or something, in marketing departments of loyalty companies that are tied to hitting certain targets, but they lose this concept of, is the message compelling? And that's really subjective. It's really hard, but that would be the one piece of advice that I would have for loyalty marketers, the folks in charge of programs. Please, take a step back, look at your next quarter, look at your next 6 months, and just ask the question, is this compelling?
Right.
Yep.
Trying to put yourself in the customer's shoes is truly hard to do, right? It is difficult. And there's a great book called Story Brand I like to reference a lot. It's really making the customer the hero, not the brand a hero, right? Not your company the hero, right? Truly understanding and writing in there to bring value to them. And that's hard to do. And it's something that it can be very advantageous if you do it that way.
Yeah.
So is there kind of a new technology that you think, or an idea that brands can be focusing on that can help them drive deeper customer loyalty? Maybe it's a new technology now, or something that's coming down the pike, AI or machine learning or mobile proximity. What are some of the new technologies, or maybe even market technologies that brands can be using?
Yeah. So honestly, it's you hit on one of them that's pretty big. It's a little buzzwordy, but it is true. Machine learning. As we talked about complexity, the complexity of all the different channels, the millions of members, the many products, and getting the messaging right and compelling requires automation. And so making that more targeted requires more and more machine learning. So it's not good enough just to have a data warehouse and be able to produce dashboards. It's not good enough to link that data warehouse to a marketing automation tool like Salesforce Marketing Cloud or Responses or whatever, name your product. There needs to be an eye towards automated learning about the customers. A lot of people talk about doing it. I find that it's rarely actually being done. And I'll be honest, I'll be the first one to admit, machine learning for us is, we have a long ways to go. There is a long ways to go. And I think if loyalty marketers are honest, they would say, there's so much more that we can be doing there. And it comes not just in learning about your customers, but learning about your data, finding anomalies, finding fraud, finding, all these things that machines can be, configured to help you understand. So we're on a journey there for sure. And that's where I think there's the biggest impact to overall loyalty marketing is going to be that learning.
Okay. So when you look 5 years down the road, what is customer loyalty going to look like? Customer experience going to look like, even customer strategy? What is that going to look like? How's it going to be different than today?
This is something you and I have talked about just briefly, but I think there is a push or a tendency for brands to start taking sides in some of the cultural changes and political changes that are happening in the United States. And I have a personal hope around some of this stuff, but I do think you're going to see a change. I think it's unfortunate, but I think you are going to see some brands start to take sides in political arenas and in socioeconomic arenas and some of the great debates that are happening now. And I think you're going to start to see, in the same way that you're seeing division grow in society around politics and social justice, equality, and the way we get to a better place as the people have different ideas of how they get there. I think you're going to start to see some brands feel pulled into some of those discussions. And in some ways, people would say, well, that's great. That's good. We need progress. We need support. I'm worried about that. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see brands take sides. I think there's an opportunity for brands to be the adults in the room and show an example of being able to work with anyone, to maintain relationships with anyone, despite maybe having differences, to be respectful and tolerant of different ideas and opinions. So I'm hopeful to see, and I'm anxious to see which brands over the next 5 years are able to maintain that cool, calm confidence around who are we, what do we do, who are we here to serve, what's our purpose, and be an example of being tolerant of multiple points of view. But I think over the next 5 years, you're going to start to see some brands become the brands of this group and the brands of that group. And I think you're going to see some division.
Yeah, I think we've already started to see that. Hopefully we can get back to some modicum of sanity within the U.S., but that's just me. What can we do as a trade association that's focused on customer loyalty, customer experience, helping brands, the community that we're building? What can we do to help in your journey and their journey?
Yeah, I think, first of all, kudos to you guys. This concept of a group that helps to educate the industry, helps to advocate on behalf of the industry, it's very needed. I've had the privilege to go to some different parts of the world, see loyalty, particularly coalition loyalty, and so many other developed parts of the world. Coalition is key, and it's a major piece of overall loyalty strategy for so many brands in developed parts of the world. In the U.S., not so much. We're a very large market, and we don't have real coalitions, and we could talk about that for a long time. But it's amazing how different parts of the world grew up differently when it comes to loyalty. So you have, Mark, a big responsibility in this industry. You have so many proprietary loyalty solutions, so many brand-specific loyalty solutions, and they the brands and even the loyalty providers like Drop Tank are looking for education, looking for best practices. And so I think the type of, being able to listen to other kind of podcasts and live streams like this, being able to, when the time is right, have venues for practitioners to come together, learn a little bit more about what's being done. I think it's so critical, particularly in the U.S., to have that opportunity, because you have so many different practitioners from so many different brands trying to be brought up to speed to do a better job. So anything related to education, anything related to authentic, authentic examples and use cases, like specific. Like when you go to business school, and they present you with, here's an actual example, here's an actual use case. What would you do? And then being able to see the outcome of that. I've seen some of that stuff from the articles that you guys put out, in terms of here's an actual example of somebody doing something.
Right.
Yeah, bringing that authenticity to it, and not just having it be an opportunity for Drop Tank to sell into brands, or brands to tell people why they're the greatest thing ever. Helping to tease out the authentic learnings is a lot of your role. And I think you guys are doing a good job of it.
I appreciate that. I thank you for that. We're definitely looking to kind of bring some objectivity, trying to do different things like these series and some of the industry papers that we're doing, but really focused on growing the community and kind of getting people together as part of that community, right? The membership component, just what you get in the engagement and partnership and best practices. But I think the thing you hit on mostly is that, how it works, right? And a lot of people will get on and they'll talk about their program, but never really give an example of, how brands should do it, how they should consider, how to create simplicity. And that's really what the market needs is programmatic but case study based approaches that work, right? That others have done, that they can succeed with. And I think that kind of ameliorates the confusion that does exist. So that's good to hear. Well, David, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was great talking with you, and look forward to catching up with Drop Tank later this year. And thanks for the time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.